Hello Internet, my name is Lave and I watched MIB International, the fourth film in the Men in Black franchise, but the first one without franchise mainstays Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones, or the director of the original trilogy, Barry Sonnenfeld. This one is directed by F. Gary Gray, who's made quite a few films of varying quality over his career. My personal favourite of his is definitely Straight Outta Compton. This latest instalment is set in the same universe as the original trilogy. This one follows a girl called Molly who has a close encounter with the MIB as a kid and becomes obsessed with finding and joining them, which she does, eventually becoming Agent M, and is sent on probation to work with Agent H in the London branch of MIB, and together they have to save the world. So the most interesting thing about this film's narrative, for me at least, was Molly's story. He's played by Tessa Thompson as an adult, whose character is sort of an indirect victim of the MIB, which I thought was really interesting. Like, this is a fallible organisation. They often do make mistakes, and I thought that's something that could have been really explored, and it kind of breezes past all of that and she quickly gets inducted into the programme, and it goes on to tell basically the same story that we've seen in all of the other MIB films. They have to search for a MacGuffin and find it before the bad guys do, so it's like, here we go again. So the story is basically the same, just with an injection of new blood with a new generation of actors. Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth do have good chemistry and obviously enjoy working together, as we've already witnessed in Thor Ragnarok. Performance-wise, they're fine. I thought there were a couple of inconsistencies with Tessa Thompson's character, who seems to know stuff which she shouldn't know, and they do say in other bits, she's just kind of blagging it, so there were a couple of inconsistencies there. And Chris Hemsworth is basically playing this universe's version of Captain Kirk. He's a bit of a Lothario, but relationship wise there isn't really anything to their relationship. It's nowhere near as interesting as the grumpy father type figure that Tommy Lee Jones played and the ignorant son that Will Smith played. There is a similar relationship dynamic with a bit of a twist in this, with Liam Neeson playing the boss of the London branch and mentor to Chris Hemsworth's character, but he isn't really in it enough to say that they fully explored it. But that's not really the film's main focus. The main focus is on Agent M and Agent H, which, as I say, doesn't feel like there's much to it. It does feel a bit like Sony have seen their performances in Thor Ragnarok and thought, yeah, we like that, let's just like transplant that and put it in our film. But the thing is, like, Thor Ragnarok was genuinely funny because of their performances, yes, but mainly because of Taika Waititi. My favourite character by far is played by Kumail Nanjiani, who's playing a little alien called Pawnee, who ends up thinking that Agent M, or Molly, is a queen, so he dedicates his life to serving her. He kind of reminded me, kind of design-wise, of Baby Groot, but obviously he's got a wider vocab. Like the other previous MIB films, it does strike a bit of a balance between CG characters and practical effects, but this one does lean more in favour of a lot of CG characters, which are pretty decent. I wouldn't say that any of them fall into the uncanny valley, but then maybe that's because they are aliens. But I wouldn't say that they are the best kind of CG character work when compared to other summer blockbuster or other recent films. There was a brief appearance by one alien which might have been referencing Rick and Morty's Slow Mobius, who has the power to speed up and slow down time. Either that or they've just ripped off the same joke. There is another alien who's voiced by Kayvan Novak, who's an English comedian most famous for Phone Jacker. He actually plays quite a few characters in this, but one of them he's decided to voice in the same way as Nelson Mandela. Now, considering the character that he's playing, which is called Vungus, I think, it really gave me vibes of the Trade Federation characters in Star Wars. I was like, yeah, that was a bit risky. The rest of the CG is a bit of a mixed bag. There are some okay moments in there, but also quite a few scenes with some noticeable green screen and rotoscoping effects, which you don't really expect in a big summer blockbuster. The film in general has a sense of being cobbled together. I know it did go through reshoots, but then most movies go through reshoots. That's not out of the ordinary. But in terms of the story, it does jump around quite a bit. Like Rafe Spall keeps popping up from time to time as another agent within MIB who's at odds with Chris Hemsworth Hemsworth's character. Rebecca Ferguson pops up at the end of the film as this alien arms dealer. Now, the weird thing about her character is that they kept referencing her in the middle of the film as a former lover of Agent H, and I was like, oh, they must be referring to another alien that he slept with at the beginning of the film, but it's not. It kind of has a sense that Rebecca Ferguson was only on set for a couple of days, so she only pops up at the end of the film. She could have benefited from being established in the first act as the alien that he does sleep with. So that's what I mean where it feels like it's been cobbled together. So that's my thoughts on MIB International, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. The Men in Black films has been a franchise of diminishing returns, although you could argue that Men in Black 3 did give it a bit more energy by adding the time travel element. It did feel like they were trying to revitalize it, whereas in this one, it doesn't really feel like they are. I mean, the cast are okay, but it really doesn't offer anything new. So let me know what you thought of MIB International down in the comments, and as always, thanks very much for watching this review. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the Lave. Just bounce it with me, just bounce it with me. Come on, let me see you. Just slide, baby, just slide. Subscribe.